Welcome to the next episode of Take a Break.
Take a break. Keep the whole world guessing. Take a break from the human race. Take a break when it gets depressing. Take a break.
Pat Armistead is a voice for all that is joyful. In this series, she brings a fresh approach to emerging consciousness. Through conversational, social and emotional intelligence, she and her guests explore new models of leadership that embrace humour, empathy and compassion.
Good morning again, everybody. A delight to be back and speaking to the audience. My guest today is Philip Bradbury. Welcome, Philip. I'm really excited to be talking to you today about your latest project.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I loved on your website, it says you're an author and coach who's been helping people turn their roadblocks into starting blocks. So
Right.
Loving that analogy.
Yes.
So you've been a fairly prolific author. You've written 19 books now. You've also been a coach, and I personally love some of those areas you've been coaching in. Grief, you've been part of men's groups, and also part of AIDS workshops. And you're also a poet, and I've read and heard you share some of your poetry. However, I found this little one today, and I want to share it with the audience. The pot called the kettle black. The kettle said nothing, and that was that.
One of my longer poems.
And
a non-reaction is the path to peace. Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So if only our current circumstances were that simple. Or
Exactly.
if we could all come completely to that
into that state,
to that position. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your authoring journey, and what's been happening along that pathway.
Okay, I'm not sure how much time we've got, but basically I started writing when I was having my midlife opportunity, not midlife crisis. I was an accountant for many years and I didn't like it and it didn't like me, but I kept doing it because I thought I had to, family to feed and all that stuff, and it had good income, all that self-esteem stuff, you know, what seemed to be important in those days. But the more I did it, the more depressed I got, and I actually got quite depressed. I didn't realize it at the time, but I was stuck. And I was asking whoever's out there for help, and whoever's out there sent this strange hippie sort of chap to me, who's still in Tauranga in New Zealand. And I ended up doing a 3-day meditation retreat with him. I hadn't heard of meditation before, didn't know what it was. And it seemed a stupid thing to go and spend a lot of money sitting around doing nothing. But anyway, after that, I committed to meditating 20 minutes morning and night for the next month. And once I started that and got the mind still, these really annoying words would just turn up in my head. And these phrases, and initially there was a sentence and it was in my head for weeks, and it drove me crazy, and I thought eventually, okay, well, I'll write it down. And the minute I wrote it down, all its relatives turned up. The next sentence and the next sentence and the next sentence. And so each morning the meditation would be accompanied by a whole lot of writing. And I just wrote pieces of paper, threw them in the drawer, piece of paper. And after a month or so, I told a friend of mine who was a writer, David Gorn, about it. And he said, well, that's your story, Philip. And I said, are you psychic? He said, no. He said, that's what happens. Most writers start writing their story. So I went home, got all these pieces of paper out and assembled them in an order, and I realized it was my story. it was about a George Sanderson, I think, but it was my story. And so somehow, through the magic, I've been writing my story, and I just love the process. I love that space of just being with, because I don't write the stories, they write themselves for me. And I always sense this huge team, if you like, behind me. And I'm just, whatever, it's just, I'm allowing their words to come onto paper, to be made real.
Wow.
And so that's where, and I love that process of just not being, I'm being out of control, not being in charge. I don't have to make decisions. And so that's where it came from. And I got quite brazen, I suppose. I thought I was a pretty good writer. I thought this was so exciting. And I'd started doing workshops, personal development workshops, running them and also running men's groups. And so, of course, the writing developed into that sort of genre. And in the town that I lived in Tauranga, was the largest New Age news magazine. And so I approached the editor and said, look, you have all these women writers, you need to have a man writer just to expand your readership. And I was so enthusiastic, I just knew that she was going to take me on. Well, she was really nice. And said, yes, that sounds like a really nice idea, Philip, let me get back to you. And she didn't. And so every month for the next year, I either emailed, phoned, or went and visited her and said, you know, you need to take these articles, they're so good. And eventually I think she just got sick of me and took one on. And so that was month 12. She took one story, and apparently, I didn't know till later, it had more letters to the editor than any other article ever in the 30-year history of that magazine. So I became a regular contributor to that magazine, and then quite a few others in New Zealand, in Australia, England, and South Africa. So I became a kind of a contributor, which meant that I could move out of accounting at last, because I did get paid for some of them. And then there was all these stories that I'd amassed over time, and someone said to me, why don't you put them in a book? Because also, that's right, a couple of people had written their books, and I thought they were amazing, and I thought, well, I should publish them, because I knew nothing about publishing, and I like doing things that I don't know anything about. Why do it when you already know? So so I published 2 books by David and Sue. And someone said, why don't you do your own? And it took a lot of convincing, but I did. And then drove around New Zealand knocking on every bookshop door to sell these things. And I hate selling stuff. But anyway, I was so enthused with the whole writing and book stuff, and I just thought these books are amazing. So that's how it's happened. And it's just sort of kind of grown like Topsy, and I've ended up doing all sorts of things. Being an editor of a magazine, being a publisher of a magazine, being a commissioning editor for a British publisher, O-Books. Yeah, and somehow each day I write something. It's like the dripping tap. It doesn't take long to fill the pot. If you write 1,000 words a day, you know, in a year you've got a book. And that's simply how I do it. So
yeah. I really picked up there earlier when you were talking about, in my words, you getting out of the road and letting what was there come through. Yep. And I think that's just something so important for all of us now moving ahead, to find access to that flow, you know, which is our creative wellspring, really. And not necessarily about being an artist. It's whatever expression is looking to come forth from you as an individual. Being able to find that place where we're not in the road of it. No. I know for myself, it's been the censor, and I better not say that. If I say that, someone will get upset. And so you end up with second or third thought, which is way off from the truth.
Yep. Yes.
Yeah. the you probably have you heard of Julia Cameron? She wrote a book.
Yes, the Artist's Way. That's
Yes,
right.
yes.
Yes.
I saw an interview with her the other day, a fresh one.
Right.
And she's reviewed that book, which is wonderful. And I remember doing that 20 years ago. I got together with 4 other creative people, and we said we'll do a chapter a week, and we'll meet every Sunday night and just share the learnings and what's revealed. And we ended up making a documentary. 2 were actors and we were film producers. So we made this, oh, it wasn't a documentary. We made this short film, and we ended up accessing Auckland Airport, some of the big buildings in the city's business offices, and this magnificent home in the burbs. And we did it all in 4 days, you know. So that was about the flow.
And that's that creative process, isn't it?
Yes, you know, and it wasn't the most magnificent thing that was ever created, but it was the springboard for all of us to be stepping into where we were going to go. It was amazing.
And and I just find that amazing, because sometimes it's just one little yes to one little question and the world opens up. I mean, I ended up in South Africa co-facilitating AIDS workshops. When I got back to New Zealand, months later, I discovered how it happened. And what had happened was I'd been running these personal development courses in Tauranga, New Zealand. And then somebody who did my course told another friend in Tauranga. They told another friend in Wellington. They told a friend in Auckland. And that person in Auckland had a sister in South Africa. And the person in South Africa heard my name and she just knew that I was the right person. And then she found out about me later. So I just got this email out of the blue. And so I'm out of control here, in a sense that I could not have constructed that whole chapter of events. We can't. And all we need to do is simply step up and say yes when it feels right. And the magic then just allows, like you just said, that building turned up and you ended up in all sorts of amazing places with amazing people.
Yeah.
It starts with a simple yes. And most of the time, I mean, it's like Richard Branson says, he always says yes, and then worries about how to do it later. And I tell him, I'm like, what the hell am I doing? I don't know anything about AIDS. I've never been to South Africa. I couldn't, and I had no money at the time, and I had to go out busking on the street to raise money to get to South Africa. But that's later. That's the mechanics. The first step is just saying yes.
Yes.
And you do have to put the effort in. You do have to go through some fears sometimes. But you end up in a space that you could not have imagined. Meeting amazing people and having experiences. And I just think, saying yes is one of the most magic, simple things one can do.
Yeah.
So, and you know that.
Yes. We've been, for all the listeners around the world, each of us have been experiencing our own representation of what's happening with this COVID phenomena. And here in Australia, we've had 2 states that have been in, I'm going to use the word horrific turmoil. They've been subjected to very punitive measures to control their movement. And Victoria in particular has been, is it 230 days now in lockdown? And, you know, so many friends, colleagues that I have there, some are managing and some are not. And I think it's when I believe, just the very manner of who you are in the world, you've been seeded with an idea. Yeah. Yes. So I want you to share now what that idea is for a new project.
Okay, well, for me, it's very simple because I've been in publishing and writing for a long time. And my hope is that for everybody else, it's going to be really simple. But I know it may not be. So I woke up anyway, about 2 weeks ago, and there was just this idea in my head, and I knew it wasn't from me, and I just had to do it. So the idea is simply to collect stories from people in Melbourne, as you say, Pat, 237 days to date, I think it is, continuous imprisonment. And let's not pretend it's anything else. It's not lockdown, it's imprisonment. And I'm in Queensland, so I'm not there. So I can't pretend to know what it's like, but I do know people there, and I know some very professional, accomplished people who are really stressed. And it's not about mentally deficient people struggling. Very, very mature people are struggling with it, and the suicide rates skyrocketing down there. And so my heart goes out to those people, and I guess it's part of my message of who I am, is that my upbringing was abusive, and there was a lot of denial of who I am, and I really, really rile at any kind of infringement of someone's rights, whether that's people marching to war to take over someone's land, whether it's rape, whether it's theft, whether it's cultural abrogation, whatever. We all are sovereign beings, and we all deserve to live who we are on this planet, and anything that goes against that, I'm sorry, I can't agree. It just goes against my essence. So I see these abuses going on and totally unnecessary in Melbourne, and I just feel for these people. And so my thought was, one is to help reduce the psychological, mental stress that's going on for them. How can I do that at a distance? I feel like at times, if you can write your story, get it out of your head onto paper, that in itself, I mean, I've experienced that myself. I dealt with my depression that way, mainly. And so if you can get your story, however badly it's written, get it onto paper and send it to someone who will love and nurture it and provide a platform for it to help other people. So that's my heartfelt, because if you're not a writer, just get writing anyway, because I've got professional editors here. I'm an editor. We will massage it if you need it, you know, turned into what, if you feel like it's not very well written. So the idea is to collect these stories, turn them into a book, and then sell the book, so that, and then the people who provide stories will get a free book, and they will get other ones at a discount that they can give away to friends. And then the money we make from that and from donations, we can then provide back to people in Melbourne who are suffering financially, because thousands of businesses have collapsed, thousands of people have lost their jobs, and so there's huge, apart from the mental problems, there's obviously the financial ones too. So through sales of the book and through donations, hopefully we can channel money back to people who really need it in Melbourne on the ground, and it won't be up to me to decide who gets that money. That's going to be in the hands of the people of the community in Melbourne. So that's my original plan. So I have only, sorry, yep.
So you're wanting those who feel they could share their story or would like to be able to put something together and send to you.
Exactly.
Do you have a name for the book yet?
Well, at the moment it's called Melbourne Manacled. It's just the alliteration. But yeah, I'm also welcome. If you have a better name, tell me. Please send it in. So the stories you can put your name to it. I'd love to have your name to the stories and a photo, just to provide authenticity that it's a real story from real people. However, I know that a lot of people down there are scared, are terrified. So you're welcome to send your story anonymously as well. You will not be named if you don't want to be, and I absolutely understand that too. However perfect or imperfect it is, And so I'm not looking for bad stories necessarily. I know there's a lot of terror and there's a lot of fear and all of that. And if that's what's going on, tell that story. I also know there's a lot of compassion and kindness going on, as in every war, which this is. Neighbours helping neighbours, people doing wonderfully nice, kind, big and small things. So whether the story is good, bad, or whatever, that's, I'm not going to censor that. Whatever it is that you want to get out of your brain, you think, and it might touch somebody else. And you never know, that one story might just change someone's life. I mean, just, I don't know how this happens, but I have had emails, 3 emails from people over the years saying that something that I wrote, and it might have been years ago, something I wrote stopped them committing suicide. And I don't know how that happened, because it was just an ordinary little story about something. And so you don't know, all I'm saying is you don't know where that's going to go and how that's going to touch people. Just say yes, ask for help. How do I write this thing? And send it in, and we can massage it. So sorry, I'm going on. So that's the plan.
I know, I've had that experience myself with speaking. As I, over the last 20 years, back in the beginning, I was telling my story, which was, you know, a fairly sad story. And then as I healed, it started to grow and the story became less and less. And I started to see, and so did the audience, the disparity between the initial sad story and the what happened after.
Yes.
Because of certain choices that I made. And every time there would be someone come out of the audience and they would say, when you said X, I remember one lady came and she said, I shared at one point, I had written my first book, had started to speak and speaking quite a lot, but I was still living in my overdraft. And so I had the book to show off and 12 months of bank statements where I was consistently in the red. And, you know, I was driving a nice little sports car and I had this gorgeous hat, but not all of my life was in balance. And that's what I wanted to say. You know, we kind of are never totally in balance around all things. So in sharing that, she came to me and she said, when you spoke about that, she said, I need you to know, she said, we sat at the table last night and said, we've done everything. We're going to have to sell the house. She said, but hearing your story, she said, I'm going home tonight and we're going to sit around the table again and I'm going to find a way. And she rang me 6 weeks later and they found a way.
Brilliant. Yes.
So, you know, it's that. And, you know, our shared vulnerability affords others the opportunity to see, oh, right, there's some little things. So certainly I can see such huge benefit from the end product. But I want to come back again to that, putting it on the page. I loved Julia Cameron's book, and I still do morning pages. And, you know, she's an advocate for doing three full pages longhand, just spilling everything onto the page. Damn toaster, flat tire, late to kids to school. If you can't think of anything, then you write that. I can't think of anything. And then watch the magic unfold, right? Don't read it. Don't read yesterday's today. Just let it all go and then go back and revisit. And for me, it's like, you know, I've got a few bunches of paper here on my desk at the moment, not 100% tidy. So we've got, you know, papers and stuff, and it's like once you put it on the page, it's now in order.
Just here.
You know, it's like tidying your desk.
Yes.
Right, moving the extraneous, and if you do it in the morning, it clears the path for more clear thought. That's been my experience, you know, because you've got all the, I call it hunya stuff, right? It's going on in your head.
Yes, the monkey.
It's now on the page and gone. You know, so it's like a shedding process.
It is. It is.
You know, and you know, for these people who are being more traumatized than you or I at the moment, in New South Wales and Victoria, it's a healing opportunity. And like you say, whether they want to be acknowledged by name or not, that's not really the critical thing, although it adds to the credence, as you say. And it's not about being distinguished in your writing. It's about expressing.
Exactly.
You know,
which is the exact opposite of what's going on. And it's a very deliberate denial of people's expression, which is, as human beings, we are meant to express ourselves in some way. I mean, you do it through your joy and your speaking and lots of things, writing. My mother does it through cooking. She just gets into a kitchen and she's in her zone. So it doesn't matter what area it is, engineers, builders, artists, whatever. If we can be true to ourselves, listen what's going on, and just let that be. Sorry, I'm going on. I'm a bit passionate about it. And obviously I'm a writer, so that's my main channel. But I do it through music and other things as well. So and I just love seeing other people step into that empty space to allow whatever's going to come. So I probably should also add, I mean, I am a writing coach and a life coach. So if someone has a story they want to tell, but they don't know how to do it, they're welcome to call me and we can talk it through. And I do know other writing coaches as well. So we can, if I'm not the right person, I'm, and I'm not going to, obviously not going to charge for this. This is what the universe has asked for me to step up. So, and I don't need the money, so that's easy. So if you want to write, that's fine. If you want to write but you don't know how, give me a call. You can contact me on the website, and I'm happy to talk as we're talking right now.
So sometimes in shared books, people give you a kind of a construct for number of words or anything. I'm guessing you're not going to have that constraint here.
No, not really. No, I had the idea that the stories could be sort of something under 2,000 words. But I mean, if your story takes more to tell, then tell that, whatever comes. And, so at the moment, I've only had 2 people write. One person sent in a poem, another person sent in 5 stories. And so at the moment, there's a poem of 100 words and there's a story of 3,000 words. So that's easy. We can, books can be as long as they are.
And you're going to be looking for sponsors, people to contribute to bring this to fruition. Yes.
I'm hoping to get more money than it's going to cost to produce the books, so that we can give money back to the people in Melbourne, because they desperately need it. So if people are willing to help financially, that's just going to be so much more magic that we can spread around.
Yes. There's been different times here in Australia when big fundraising initiatives have been underway, and everyone has remarked, what's our population now, about 25, 26 million. If everyone gave $1 for various events, then that's the very nature of what's possible. Sometimes people look out and think, I'm too strapped at the moment, I can't help. But it's like, consider that. And this is all part of the unity consciousness that we're heading towards also,
Absolutely.
There's this huge rising consciousness, people holding a higher state of awareness, being able to many being able to hold themselves in a good place.
Yes.
I like the word equanimity, you know, where you're not buffeted by the storm now, you can be in flow. And this helps, is what I'm trying to say, you know, giving people an activity that feeds into that, because I know I have two key moments in my life. One is when I speak and the lights go on for someone in the audience. It's like, yes, there's my moment. And then when I paint and create, I don't need anybody.
Right.
And it's still, it's silent. There's no hunya head talk. Right. So this, when you're involved in this piece of work, this is my experience. I always start writing, and I think I've seen you do this too, with a pencil or a pen.
Yes.
And then later we'll put it, you know, once I've got the foundations, I can go on the computer. So there's something about that pen to the page and that mind-hand connection that is very freeing and very healing. I think it enables you to get into your heart and listen more to your heart than your head, and experience that flow.
No, you're absolutely right. I don't know how many words I've written, but 18 books. I've written over 1 million words, and every one of them has started with pen on paper, and then it gets typed up. Some people are fast typists, I'm not. So if you want to use your keyboard, and some people are adept at that, that's fine. But I agree, for me and obviously for you, Pat, starting with the pen on paper somehow opens up I don't like the word portal, it sounds a bit new agey, but anyway, opens up something that was kind of closed before. So I'd suggest do just the pen on paper and just start scribbling.
Okay, so for the listeners, what's the best way for people to connect with you?
Okay, there's two ways. One is because just a wee bit of backstory. I tried was it the GoFundMe,
was it?
GoFundMe, sorry. I tried the GoFundMe. I was going to set up a thing there, and then they closed it down. So I quickly just created a page on my website, philipjbradbury.com. So you can go in there, and either it's got the two sides to it. One is to send your story, and the other side is donations. Or you can go into the Facebook page that I've set up called Melbourne Manacled. Pop on there. You're welcome to put in comments, questions, anything on there. Ask to be connected. You know, you can do the messaging through Facebook there. So you can get hold of me in many ways. So there's email, obviously. There's the web page. There's Facebook Messenger. So just call me. So basically, my website, philipjbradbury.com, under a tab called Melbourne Manacled, and the Facebook are the two main parts. Yes.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I'll pop all those on the screen as well for the listeners, so they can take that down. I wish you so much success with this, and you know, I just know the healing that can come from it. So, you know, really welcome the sharing of this episode in particular, so that we have more outreach and reach more people, especially in Victoria, and have them, you know, there's some place to put how they're feeling.
And to touch others and change other people's lives as well as their own. So, Thank you.
Philip, thank you. And let's meet again in a few weeks' time and repeat this and see how things are progressing. That would be
I'll give you a progress report. Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for this opportunity, Pat.
Yeah, pleasure. Thank you.
Okay then.
Thank you to the listeners. I hope you've been enjoying this episode. Number one, to hear a little bit more about the authoring process as it occurs for one, and more importantly, to see an initiative that's being developed to support people in Victoria, in particular around their mental health and wellbeing, and to be a place where they can spill onto the page. Thank you, Philip. We'll talk again soon.
Thank you, Pat. Okay, bye.
Take a break.
Thanks for taking a break with Pat Armistead.
Take a break.
Join us next time for more.
Take a break.
And be sure to like, share and subscribe for updates. And don't forget to click the bell for notifications. Bye for now.